Welcome to Workshop Wednesday. Today we're going to look at how to reference photos that we've taken, landscape pictures of trees and things like that we just really enjoy, and how do we make those 3D in a painting. So we're going to learn to take some cardboard, some tissue paper, some poster board or mat board, and glue and different things and build up a surface to create a canvas to reflect our landscape or our trees. We're going to build it up, and then we're going to learn some different techniques on how to paint it. And then we have this painting that's a finished product, and it's a little 3D, but it'll be a really nice piece for you to have to hang on your wall.
Today we're going to talk about how to make our textured canvas that builds up 3D for our aspen tree painting. So you can look through the file and determine what type of picture reference you want to use. It has to be one that you have taken or one we have supplied for you. You cannot just take a picture off the internet and use somebody else's photography for your artwork. It's illegal. So go through the file, choose one that you like, one that you can work with. If you're going to use one of your own, get your teacher's permission and approval to do so. So when you look at your pictures, here's 4 different ones. Determine which one that you like. These 2 are vertical, these 2 are horizontal. So decide whatever interests you the most. So I'm going to go horizontal so my paper shows on the screen. That means I'm going to do away with these 2. And I'm going to look between these. Notice that this one has a little bit thicker trees that are in the foreground here and here, and smaller ones as it goes back. This one has 4 about the same size, and they get thinner and smaller as they go back, but yet there's some really big trees in the background. You do not have to put all those trees in. You're only going to select the ones in the foreground to paint. So I think I'll start with this one because it'll show a few more that I can put on here. Take cardboard, cut it in strips, and you can come in and like these go from the top to the bottom, okay, all the way from the top to the bottom. So I'm going to cut my strips to fit the length of my paper, maybe a little bit longer. Okay, so notice this one kind of curves a little bit. So I have my strip, so I can take my scissors and I can just kind of come in here and make that a little more irregular shape versus just a straight edge from the paper cutter. Okay, and I think I'll notch it a little bit on the other side as well. Just so it looks a little more textured and shaped like a tree instead of perfectly straight. And then I can glue it on here at a slight angle too as well. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to use tacky glue. You can use, if you're at home, you can use Elmer's glue, or if you have tacky glue, that's great. It is a lot thicker and sticks a little better, a little faster. So I have tacky glue in a tub and a piece of cardboard scrap. I'm just going to dip my cardboard in the glue. It's really thick. Thicker than normal. It's been sitting for a while. And on the back side, I'm going to go ahead and scrape some glue on there. And then I'm going to place it about where I see that in my picture. And this is about half, but it starts to the right a little bit of half. So I'm going to put it maybe about here. Glue that down. Okay. I'm going to do that for all my trees. So I'm going to get those ones in the foreground. I see 3 here and 2 here, which odd numbers are always best. So I'm going to choose 5. I'm going to get them glued down, and then I'm going to come back and show you the next step. So here you see that I added all my cardboard pieces, and you'll notice that I added some short ones. So these would be for limbs that are in the foreground. Everything else I'm going to paint in. But these might be my trees that are closest, and so I'm building them up so they'll be a little more 3D textured in the end. And you'll notice this one is a thin little branch, and I went ahead and put it across the top of this tree because I'm going to paint it to be in front of that tree. Now you could cut this where it stopped and started on either side of this other tree, allowing that limb to look like it was behind it, which would be perfectly fine as well. So once you have this part done, then what you're going to do is we're going to cover it with the tissue paper so it makes a solid surface. So you're going to use a Elmer's glue with a little bit of water mixture. It's really thin and runny. Okay, and you're going to brush it on everything, the background, the cardboard, and get in those crevices really good. And I would only do a little bit at a time. So I'm going to start with this part, and then I'm going to get my tissue paper on here. It doesn't have to be on there perfect, but I want to hold it up. So by holding it up, it's going to allow it not to stick yet, because I want to make sure I get it down in next to that cardboard. And what's going to happen is when I lay it down, it might be pulled too tight. So this is what's going to happen. So here it's too tight. So it may rip when I push that to paint that glue next to that cardboard for it to stick. See how that's bubbled up? I don't want it to bubble up. So I'm going to take the back of my brush. I'm going to run it along that cardboard and push that in really good and stick some glue in there. Yes, your tissue paper is going to rip, but we'll just cover it up with more tissue paper. It'll be fine. The glue is what's going to allow this to be a solid surface. So I want to make sure that I get that next to those trees and not have puckers and tissue paper all buckled. Okay, so then I just come back over and I'm going to cover that really well. Okay, but you don't want any of these little air bubbles in there. So if you have any, just kind of pull it back a little bit, put some more glue underneath it, and glue that down. Okay, like I didn't do the edge, so I'll go back and fix that. Okay, so when you look on the side, let me see if I can get that up where you see it. See how you can see the cardboard right here on the side? I just want to plug those holes, but I have all this tissue paper extra down here. So I'm going to just tear off some pieces, and I'm going to come along, and this is wet. I'm just going to lay another piece on there and patch that and cover those holes. Make sure you do that really well with your first layer before you put your second layer of tissue on. Otherwise, you'll just create more air pockets. So make sure you fix them and then go to your next layer. And in between the layers, don't leave gaps. Okay. So I have those plugged. I'll put another little piece here. Okay. Now, also notice on this side, see, you want to check it really well. Make it easier to paint. See how I have those little air holes there from my cardboard? I'm just going to take another piece of strip of paper. I'm going to lay it over that. And I'm going to glue that. And that's going to cover them. And now, if I lift this up, you can see that those are covered. So do that across the whole thing. Once you have done it one time, come back and do it a second time. So I would lift this up. I would get underneath here really good. And I just keep working my way across. And get that covered. Okay, this part looks pretty good. This parts are really puckered. So I'm going to put some glue on there, see if it'll go down. It did pretty good. See all these wrinkles? I don't know if you can see them on the camera or not. There's some wrinkles in my tissue paper. Don't worry about those. Those are going to be great texture of limbs and things that are in the background. So leave those. It's just the air pockets that you don't want right now. So just make sure Like I said, you can run with the back of your brush along the edge if that helps. Right here, I need to do that. It's all puckered. And get it around that cardboard really good. So then I can come back. Oh, I love those wrinkles. That's going to be some great texture. Okay, so all I have to do now is come back in to these little areas that I see the cardboard peeking through. I'm going to get that covered. Okay, so you're going to do this with at least 2 sheets of white tissue paper. Okay, you can always find white tissue paper at the dollar store, a big old pack of it for $1. If you don't have any, like if you run out or anything like that and you're at home, if you're at school, we have plenty here that you can use. So I'm just going to finish this up and get my second layer on there. And then our canvas will be ready and we're going to start painting, but it's going to be a process of what we're going to use and the steps that we're going to do to paint it. So don't just take off on your own. We'll record as we do the demos in class and share those with you because we're going to paint the background first and work forward. And one of the later things that we're going to do is paint the tops of these trees after we get our background in. So be patient, follow the steps to be successful. You've seen the images of some finished ones online on this presentation slideshow. And a lot of times these do really well in art shows and competitions, and it's a piece you can be really proud of. So make sure you're following all the steps and you get all these little holes. See another one right there. So I'm going to go back and fix it. So prepare your canvas. Make sure it's covered really well before you even start to paint. All right. Good luck. Have fun. Okay, so today we're going to paint the background with using watercolor. So I have filled my wells with liquid watercolor. You can use your tray watercolors. It'll be perfectly fine if that's what you choose. And I have a bucket of water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to think about what season I'm going to paint this with my acrylic paints. And I'm going to paint everything behind these tree branches and tree trunks. Don't paint on top of them at this point. We're only doing the background. So in mine, I'm going to come in and utilize a wet on wet technique like we did with watercolor. So I'm going to wet an area. And then I'm going to grab some of my color here. And if you want it to be lighter, add water to it. Okay, so I'm going to make this a blue sky kind of in the background. And remember, what lands on one side of the tree needs to be on the other side of the tree. And it's looking a little bright, so I'm going to add more water to that. I don't want it too bright. And have it come across. So I'll go ahead and do this area. So I'm using my dirty water. And I'll lay a little color in there. You want it to go down in all the crevices. That way when we paint with acrylic paint, you're not worrying about all these little white things showing through. Because it's already going to have color in there. Okay. With a little stripe there, so blend that out. Now, if that is too much the same color and I want to change that up, all I have to do is take a tissue or paper towel and I can come in and dab and create texture. You want to do it while it's wet. And it's kind of sticky because it's glue water mixture underneath there. Okay, so I'm going to continue that all the way across. And And then on mine, I'm going to change the color up. So I'm going to change this part. I'm going to make it like a lake in the background. Now, you guys, maybe you want yours to be fall, so you're going to lay yellows and stuff in there. But I'm going to make this as if the lake is here in the background. And then it's going to come down into the rocky shore. So I'm going to use yellow at the bottom part. But make sure you have a plan for what you're doing. It's not just random. And that you don't paint the trees. Okay, don't paint the trees. And then this way, what I'm going to do is on the shore, on the other side, I can paint some trees back there on that side of the shore too. So, let's go ahead and lay this in here. Make sure it gets in all those little crevices. It's kind of dark back there, so I'll make this a little darker. And over here. And I'm going to make it closer on one part. So I'm going to bring it lower over here. So that way everything's not straight across. And I kind of got a little dial there. Just hurry. Take your time. Do it a good job. So now you can kind of see I'm making this lower on this side. Okay. And this is where I'm going to put my yellow base for some rocky area that I'm going to get along the shore of the lake. Okay, seems a little bright, but I'm painting acrylic over it, so it's going to cover it up. Put it down here. I've done a few of these over the years, so that's kind of why I'm changing it up on this one a little bit from what I have a lot of them that start to look alike. So that's why this is going to be a little different. Okay, and then you're going to set that aside and you're going to let that dry. Okay, and you'll be ready for the next step.
Now that your background has been painted, then come in and paint some of the foreground. So if you have brushes, leaves, limbs, anything like that, paint some of those, and then come in and paint your tree trunks and put a shadow on one side of each of the tree trunks. And then you can come back and put in some textures, lines to show some of the texture of those trees and find the creases that was in that tissue paper. And then just add all kinds of foliage and stuff just to make your picture special.